Other shaking hand.
When you play a character in this upcoming season, it's sort of like you've been through the fire and everything. Was that written in, or you say, "Can I kick a little butt now"? Or,
who are you talking to?
To Mary.
To Mary.
Oh, I see.
See, I had like...
I'm sorry, what was the question?
In this third season, you really come in, you were kicked out of the presidency, you come back with a vengeance, your characters come back with a vengeance. Was that your idea of saying that it's time I kicked a little butt, or was that decided? Because you've really transformed that character.
It's really hard to say who. I'd have to say it's not my idea. But I will say that there was a lot of discussion about how she continues, if she does not get stronger and finally start to deal with some things head on, then what kind of a president can she continue to be under these circumstances? And then more recently, the episode, what we call the torture episode, I'm sure that's one of the ones you're referring to, a couple weeks ago, is where...
Well, you all in all, this entire season, it's been, the character has evolved to the point where it seems like you know your own mind, you know what you can do, you know what needs to be done, you're not afraid, and there's no fear anymore.
Well, I think part of what happened was I was reborn. I mean, I think before that she was dying of cancer and she was unsure of herself, and then suddenly she had another life given to her out of the blue. And I think she's clearer about her mission and less involved with the philosophical or moral repercussions of her actions. More involved in taking what she believes is a correct action at all costs. So that's the big change, I think.
That's really wonderful to see. And it really, I felt, really enhanced the season.
Oh, thanks.
It set a tone, I think, from the leadership, from the leadership point of view when we perceive all this. So everybody's more focused.
Well, thank you. Another waving hand. Everybody's going to be waving.
There will be still hands.
I have a question for each of you to answer. If you were writing the show, tell me what direction you would want your characters to go in, starting from this point on.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. You're sitting right here, you know.
Okay. I think I blushed. Good job I'm wearing pink. Part of the joy about acting in a show is not to have to think too much about the direction that the character goes. You just sort of deal with the rubbish as it comes your way. And I use rubbish because I can't use I don't want to use other words. But they all get put through the ringer, and you don't want to be, in a way, you don't want to be too aware of what the future holds because these characters are reacting so much in the present to whatever happens, and that's part of it. But then, as Mary and I both know, when you're in a long-running situation like this, you are so responsible for your character. Mary, that was an excellent question earlier on. Mary really has, molded Roslin, and I know how close you feel to her and how responsible you feel to, a female president was something that we haven't lived through yet. So Mary's created something there, and we all feel that. So there are senses in which we want to uphold the integrity and the truth of the characters. Now, personally, with Lee right now, if I had to make a decision tomorrow and pan out, what's happened to season 4, I would put him back to, the original Apollo idea. I would get him back to that. Not because I haven't enjoyed everything else in between, but I just think he's been through so much that when you get pushed to these dark, difficult places, when the journey I'm about to embark on in season 3 is a huge one, and I end up somewhere where you'd never expect me to end up. But at the end of it, there's a kind of, I don't know, there's an emotional moment where he kind of just is put in a corner and spews forth exactly what he thinks, and after that, it's a purging, a moment of purging, and through that, I think he'll end up, being the Apollo, the Viper pilot, the sort of person that people can rely on, and I think that's where he'll at least try and go. We'll see.
I'd just like to comment for a minute, without spoiling what's coming up. What Jamie was referring to was a really astonishing moment for the rest of us on the set, Jamie was given a piece of work to do towards the end of this season that was mammoth in its scope. No, I won't shush. and watching him do it was an absolute pleasure, and it was really exciting because just as he was saying, it was sort of like watching the pieces of Apollo come back together and back into his core, and Jamie and Apollo taking their ground in a brand new way, and yet it was Apollo again. So it was pretty extraordinary to watch. So you're in for a treat, truly. Red. Yeah, the red arm, right? Yeah.
As Jamie stated earlier, he watched the show as a child. As we all know, when it comes to remakes or reimaginations, it's a dicey proposal. Are you surprised by the outpouring of support that you've gotten for the show from not just the fans, but the critics as well?
Well, I didn't know much about the other show. I never really saw it, so that it wasn't an issue I was paying much attention to. I honestly can't tell you that I am surprised at the outpouring of support from the critics, because I think it's that good, honestly. And that starts with the writing.
I on the other hand was gobsmacked. Just because of the title and everything, and doing sci-fi and being in space, I had no idea we were doing anything that great. I mean, I knew we had great cast. I knew the scripts were good. I knew that we were working the right way. But when I watched it for the first time, I thought it was slow, to be honest. Pretty serious. So I was pretty amazed. It was slow for the right reasons. You know, you need to have slow before the end of the world happens, to compare it to the frenetic pace that keeps going on afterwards. But it never ceases to be, not amazement, because I know that the ingredients are all there. But whenever the ingredients make a perfect result, there's always a sort of an amazement in my mind. I'm a terrible cook, so it doesn't happen very often.
Have you ever heard anyone use the word gobsmacked?
Yes.
It's a great word.
Let's see, right over there? Yeah.
Jamie, did you enjoy being involved in the low quadrangle, or did you find it tiresome that these people would be acting like this, when they do the race and that?
No, I thought it was fantastic, and it was actually at my doing that all happened. So apologies to those of you that hated it. The end of night, whatever, the end of the world can only happen so many times, and these people have been on the run for months and months and months. Life exists in that environment, and the key to great drama is to interweave interpersonal, intrapersonal, and extrapersonal relationships, and the Love Quadrangle does on all three levels. It's individuals going through crisis of identity about who they are and who they want to be. It's a crisis about who they want to be with and what that person means to them and how they transform it. And it's extrapersonal in the sense that these are all key people in this socio-political world. I mean, Apollo has been a commander of a battle star, Starbuck, the best fighter, and then Duala, who's this sort of stalwart, cool, level-headed, wise woman in the CIC. These people that make a huge difference to the way that the fleet function, and to have them all involved and screwing each other around and all messed up, I just thought was good writing and necessary from where the characters have been going. So apologies to you if you didn't like it. But soap opera exists purely on the personal level, and this is very much the opposite to that.